Welcome to Module 10. Today we're going to be in Chapter 18 and we're going to be looking at dresses without waistline seams. So basically what we're going to develop is the torso sloper. I don't really like how they do it in the book, so follow along with me, and I think my method will be more simple than what they do. The only thing that might be similar between my method and the book's method is the back. But other than that, I do it significantly different. She ends up developing a torso that has 4 darts along the front and 4 darts along the back. The torso I develop ends up having 1 dart on the front and one or 2 darts on the back, depending on your slopers that you're starting with. You end up with 4 darts on the front. One of them originates from the side seam instead of her method. So I'm going to bring you down, and you can just follow along, and you can use the blocks that we already have at half size to do this, just to get in the practice. And then once your personal slopers are finished and your blocks are done, you can do it for those as well. So I'm going to bring you down, but before I do that, for the assignment, just make some notes on it really quick. So I do want you to push the design, so when you make these torso slopers, that does not count as one of your designs. Don't consider that one of your designs. I'll knock you down for that one. So I want you to push the design. You're creating the block, that torso block, as a base. You're not creating it as your style. So don't try and turn something in of just your torso sloper. So I do want 4 completely different designs with small sketches, just like normal. I do need the grain line, seam allowances for quarter inch for all half sizes on the seam allowances. I do want those small sketches, the labels. This is different. What I've added to the assignment now, it's different. You know enough to be able to finish the edges. So because you know how to do finishes from last time, and you need to be able to start thinking about how am I going to get into this design, I need to see an indication of all closures. So if that means that you need to put a notch to indicate here's where a zipper is, and you just label zipper, then show it. Which means that I'm going to be looking at the feasibility of getting in. So if you end up having a zipper that comes from the waist down to the hip and you're using a torso sloper, I'm going to wonder how are they getting in the top part of that garment. So make sure you think through, when I design this garment, how will a person get into it? If you can't figure out how they're going to get into it, you need to redesign some elements of your design so that people can actually don and doff the clothing. Okay? So going forward, I need all closures, and I need all of the pattern pieces for all of it. So you are designing 4 complete patterns at half size with the finishes and with all the closures and all of the pattern pieces. So it's totally doable. You might consider, if you like to bite off more than you can chew, you might consider doing simple designs, but still push yourself in the realm of moving the darts and adding fullness and that kind of stuff. So there are some examples in the book using the princess line, how to turn this into the princess line foundation. You should be able to figure that out even without the book, how to turn it into a princess seam. But they do have some different examples of different panel dresses, how to add ruching, how to do an empire waist. They do show on page, let me find it for you really quick. Contouring still exists with the torso sloper, and you can see that on page 389, figure 10A. So if you want to add contouring marks to your torso sloper, you will want to transfer your torso sloper over onto hard paper because you're going to be using it as a block. I will be showing you how to create 3 different blocks. I'm going to teach you how to do the sheath, and I'm going to teach you how to do a semi-fitted one and then also a boxy fit. She does those 3 as well. Her sheath dress has 4 darts on the front, 4 vertical darts on the front. Her shift dress, so that just that semi-fitted one, has 2 vertical darts on the front, and then the boxy has none. So the 3 basic dress foundations that you see on 390, I will show you them a little bit differently, and ultimately I think in a way that can fit better than what she has, because the outside dart on hers doesn't point at the bust. So I have concerns actually about how hers would actually fit, because it's not actually pointing to the bust dart. Cool. So I will bring you down. I will be showing you only how to develop the torso slopers. You should have enough information between the book and all of the things that you have done the rest of the semester to make some pretty cool panel dresses, to make some, so yeah, you're doing all dresses this time. All patterns, all finishes, all hems, all everything, 4 of them. So I hope you have fun, and I'll bring you down and show you how to develop those slopers. Alright, so right away you're going to notice that my paper is a lot bigger. You're going to need 2, and I have already indicated a really nice long line here. This is my center front or my center back. I'm going to start with the front, and for the front you will need your single dart bodice block, as well as your single dart skirt. I don't use this one very frequently, but this is one of those times that I do. You want this one. So if you don't remember or you don't have this one, I guess you better go back to the skirt module and figure out how to make this one, because this is the one that you want. On the back, so this is for the front. For the back piece, you will need the back, and it doesn't really matter if you use the single or the double dart skirt. It doesn't really matter. Ultimately, they have the same silhouette. Their darts are just different sizes. So outsides are exactly the same. So you can choose either one of them. It doesn't particularly matter. On the back, I will show you how to add a second dart, in which case you might want the double dart just as a reference. So I'm going to use this as my reference. To start out with the center front, the very first thing that I want to do is measure my dart. Just that dart opening. How far apart is that? And mine happens to be 5/8 of an inch. So just mark that down someplace. At full size, that would end up being 1.25 inches for that single dart. So just make note of how far this is open at the top. And then put it to the side. And we're going to now use our bodice front. And we're going to line our center front up with this line that we've already drawn down our pattern. Just like that. I will have also noted a spot on the side seam where I want a horizontal dart. So for me, it happens about here. That's where I'm going to put my side dart, because I'm going to have to pivot some of this base dart out of the way so that it can join together with the skirt. We're trying to fit these two together, and currently this is sticking all the way out here, and we can't have that. So we need to bring it in somehow, and the best way to bring this in is by taking some of this dart and putting it someplace else. I could put it up here in the shoulder, I could put it on the side seam, I could put it anywhere. For this, I'm going to stick it in the side seam just to maintain that balance right here. So first I am going to start at my lower dart leg right here and trace the entire top over to where I want the dart to go. Just like typical pivoting, include all of your notches. Once I get to where I want my dart, I need to figure out how far I'm going to close this. And that is why you measured the opening of the skirt dart here. Mine was 5/8, so I'm going to close this dart down until it hits that 5/8 of an inch mark. Let me zoom in really quick. Hopefully you can see that. This dimension here is the same dimension as the dart on the skirt. Okay? So I'm going to grab my awl, and I am going to close that bottom dart. And then the other piece of information that I'm going to get is that bust circle, because this is a block, I'm going to be able to put all of those contouring lines on there. So it should end up looking something like this when you're done. Okay? So to finish up this section of the torso, I need to figure out how to perfect the side dart. So I'm going to back it off however far I would like to back it off. I'm going to make it extend into that bust circle by 3/4 of an inch. And there is my dart for the side seam, and that's all done. Now I need to grab a square of some sort, and I am going to square over from my center front, which is right here, a line that intersects the bottom of the side seam waist right here. I'm going to square over a line from center front, like that. And now I'm going to take my skirt, and this side seam waist point is going to match up to that line. So I'm going to line my center front up of my skirt with the center front line, that really long line. I'm going to line that up, and then I'm going to make sure that this point rests on that horizontal line that I just squared over. And I'm going to transfer over everything. I'm not going to actually transfer over the waist seam on the skirt because that's going to go away. And I'm not going to transfer the legs of the dart. I'm only going to transfer the point. That point right there. That's all I want. So when I zoom in, you can see everything that I've transferred. Notice right here, these don't line up. That's okay. To fix that, all we need to do is go from this widest point here, whatever it happens to be. Your widest point might be on the skirt, in which case you're going to square up from the skirt widest point to the bottom of this dart. So you would square up from here, like that. With mine, the bodice top happens to be wider, so I am going to first of all finish my hip, and I'm just going to take a nice gentle curve complete that hip again. So it's going to look like that now. The next thing I'm going to do is finish my dart right here in the middle. And to do that, I'm going to take my bust point and I'm going to take a line straight down that's parallel with center front. Parallel with center front, and I'm going to extend that all the way down to the level of the point of the skirt. It might not perfectly line up. Mine ended up perfectly lining up. It might not. It might be off. But this line just needs to extend at least to that point, if not a little bit beyond. This is the center of my dart. And now I'll go back to that measurement of my single dart, this measurement here, and I'm going to divide that in half because I'm going to take that measurement and half of that dart is going to go on one side of this line and half of that dart is going to go on the other side of this line. So mine was 5/8, so 5/16 on each side. And I am marking that on that horizontal line that I extended out from center front. That is where I am marking it. Just like that. This old seam line right here, that old waist line, it goes away. So in essence, we have added some length to the front. That's okay. That will ultimately get taken care of when you do fittings and stuff like that. But while we're putting this together, we actually do add a little bit of length there. Because we've lost that seam line, anytime we lose a full seam line, we lose the possibility of fit. So now what I got to do is finish this dart. So I am going to have it extend into the bust point, 3/4 of an inch, and then draw my dart legs, just like that. And then down here the skirt, I'm going to have it extend to the level of the skirt dart that was before. There it is. All I need to do now is perfect my darts, and I'm good to go. The nice thing about this dart here in the middle, I don't have to perfect it. It's already done. It's enclosed, the edges are good. I can come back and erase all of these excess lines, just so they're not confusing to me. But there you go. That is the torso sloper. So you want to develop that and transfer it over to hard paper. Just a little quick reference. If you want to turn this into a princess seam, this is a seam line. I can extend this down and extend this up and over. Put this dart into that seam line, and I can end up creating a princess sloper just by using the dart that I've created here. Extend the line out from whatever point it is through the bust point up to the neckline, up to the shoulder line, up to the arm side, up to center front. And then while I'm designing with this dart, I can't close it and pivot it and move it the same way, but I can take lines through it. The nice thing about using this is it does help us develop an empire waist. So if I draw a seam line across here, that could be the empire waist, and we've got a nice fitted bottom part of the dress that can go into there. So it no longer has that waistline seam. That's what we were getting rid of with this, was the waistline seam, and maintaining some fit down here. This is your sheath dress. This is the most fitted that you can get. What she did in the book was she didn't have this side dart here, and instead she had another vertical dart right here, which doesn't point at the bust point. so it's not going to fit nearly as well. So don't follow the book on that. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do the back. So keep this close, and the distance, you're going to want to make sure you know this distance right here, that difference, you need to know what that difference is from how far out you extended the skirt to match up with the side seam. Because we need to make sure that this curve of the hip that we have on the front is going to be the same as the curve on the back. So we need to make that alteration first. There we go. So now I have my second thing that I'm going to be working with. And I need my back and my skirt. And I'm using the double darted skirt. And we're going to start with the skirt this time. I'm going to take the skirt and I am going to just transfer over everything except for the waist and these darts. I don't need that information yet. So once I've transferred that, I fill in my hip. The other line that I need to extend is a line that extends from center back, which is right here now. I square it over through that side seam waist point on the skirt. There's my new waistline. It's not going to be a seam, it's just a waistline. And then reference back to the front that you did, figure out the dimension that you had to add on the skirt, or take, well, no, just add. It will always be adding. If that was the top that you had to add to, instead of tracing out the skirt first, you would trace out the top first and add this distance difference. So mine's 1/8 of an inch, so I'm going to add 1/8 of an inch like that. And then use the exact same curve that you did before to finish out that hip again. Okay. Now what we need to do is grab our back piece. We're going to line it up so that the center back line matches with my center back, and that the waistline seam at the side seam matches that horizontal line we squared out from center back. And we're going to trace our back. I'm not going to trace the waist, but I am going to trace my dart. Once that's done, you can take that away. We've got our dart here still. Notice, wow, how much difference there is. That's okay, it's an easy fix, and it looks like this. From the new side seam that I drew from my skirt, I'm just going to take a straight line from there up to the underarm, just like that. So in essence, I've actually added all of this. And that's why on the back I'm okay adding a second dart. It's because of how much we've taken out. I'm added right here. The next thing we're going to do is remember on the skirt, the inside dart is up 2 inches from the hip. So I'm now going to extend a line down from the point of my dart on center back on the bodice portion. I'm going to take a line that's parallel to center back all the way down to that 2-inch point. That's 2 inches above the hip line. At the half size, this is 1 inch up. At the full size, this is 2 inches up. So I'm going to make a line that's parallel all the way down. And then I'm going to extend the dart legs that already exist until they hit that horizontal line that was squared out from center back. Like that. I'm going to keep the rest of that dart exactly the same. And then I'm simply going to draw the other half of my 2-pointed dart down all the way. Just like that. I could leave it like this and be completely done. If you want something that's a little more fitted, then return to your skirt pattern and measure your second dart. Mine happens to be 1/2 inch, this one happens to be 1/2 inch, and the darts that I have here are 1/2 inch. So like at full size, they'd be a full inch. So I'm just going to add another dart right here that's the same dimension as my side dart. And to figure out the placement, I'm going to measure between my 2 darts on my skirt back block. So on my 2 dart block, this distance between there, I want that to be the same distance between the darts on here. So it happens to be 5/8 of an inch. So from this point, here, here's my center back, I go past the first dart leg, past the center of my dart, to my second dart leg. From here, I'm going to go that same distance as here, just like that. See how that's the same distance? And then I'm going to create my other dart the same size as my side back dart. And from the middle of that, so I'm going to square up and square down a line. I'm going to make the top of the first dart even with the top of my inner dart, which also happens to be level with my underarm. The other thing that I'm going to do, and the other reason why I'm okay with adding this, is when I fulfill this dart right here, when I complete it out, check out how much I added here. I'm taking away a similar amount in this dart. So basically I've maintained some of that fit on the top. On the bottom of the skirts, I'm going to, at a full size, we go down 4.5 inches. So at a half size, we're going down 2.25 inches along that line. And I'm going to complete that dart out as well. I can get rid of all of these other lines now. And there is the torso sloper for the back. So I've got my front, and I've got my back. They've both got 2 darts. One of the darts on the front is originating from the side seam, just like that. That is the torso sloper. Now, this is the one that you want to use for all of your assignments today. You could actually use these other 2 slopers that I'll show you, but this is the one that you definitely want to start with, because this is the one that is the block that develops the next two slopers that I'm going to show you. So here's the sheath. If I wanted a semi-fitted sloper, then I would get rid of this dart, and everything else would stay the same. The side seam would stay the same. That would be a semi-fitted sloper because the side is still sucking in a little bit, so it's a little bit looser, but not entirely. So semi-fitted, get rid of this dart. If I wanted to make this a boxy, then I would go from the hip and draw a straight line from there to the bottom of this side dart. And this would be my new side seam. So everything else would stay the same. I would get rid of this middle dart, I'd straighten the side seam, but I would keep this side dart up here. And then you have a boxy fit. So it's going to be very, very rectangular. Hangs perfectly straight down. Still fits for the bust a little bit because we've got this side dart here. So part of the, it won't do any weird draping at the side because we still have this fitting here. So this is actually a very good one to have for, even if you wanted to use it for a t-shirt, it could be really good because it, sometimes people don't think you can sew darts with knits, but if you are getting into the realm of double Ds and higher, actually having a dart on a t-shirt isn't a bad idea to help with fitting with the bust. But yeah, so there you have the three different options. You have the sheath where you have that center dart and the side dart and a tapered side seam. You have the semi-fitted or the shift, and it gets rid of that center dart but maintains the curve of the waist. And then you also have the boxy, which is getting rid of that middle dart as well as the curve on the side seam and just straightening it completely out. So you have three different things that you can get from this torso sloper. On the back, it's the same thing. You could actually have one more level of fitting with this because you could start out with the sheath as it is. You could just get rid of this side dart here and leave the center dart, or you could get rid of both of these. So you have two different levels of fitting there, and maintaining this side curve the way it is, side seam curve. And then the boxy, you get rid of both of these as well as straightening the side seam. That takes it to a boxy by getting rid of all of that and that. It'll still fit really nicely up here, but it'll hang straight down from the bust line. That's it. Have fun with torsos. Design sleeves. Here's the thing with your torsos, you slopers. If you design something that requires a sleeve, you darn well better start using the sleeve pattern as well. Don't just send me something that has a sketch that includes a sleeve but doesn't have a pattern piece for the sleeve now. I need the full patterns moving forward. Okay? Have fun.